I'm Al from Dino Flash Videos, and today we're going to talk about why E85 is the #1 best fuel for turbocharged vehicles. Let's drill down on E85. Hey, it's Al from Dino Flash Videos. Thank you for stopping by. If you've been a long-time viewer, it's good to see you again. If you're new, welcome. Please consider hitting that subscribe button. We'd like to see you subscribe to the video channel. We have a lot of great things coming up this year. We're going to be playing Dyno or No Dyno. If you haven't seen it before, it's really exciting when we do that. We're going to be doing that with my car and some viewers' cars. We also have a lot of trips planned to the track, both the road racing track, which will be new for me, the drag strip, and autocross. Plus, we have a lot of exotic and interesting cars planned for car reviews and road tests. So it's going to be a great year. So please subscribe and follow all the action. Thanks for checking out this video on E85. Today we're going to talk about E85. Okay, it is the ultimate fuel for turbocharged cars. And let's start with reason #1, price. Okay, I don't know if you've checked the price on the other competing turbocharged fuels, like C16, for example, is one that's really good for a turbocharged car, or VP import. They're super expensive. You know, we're talking $16 to $20 a gallon at this point. E85 is about $3 a gallon, depending upon where you're getting it. Price category, E85 is the cheapest, hands down. Reason number two why E85 is killer fuel is octane. Your pump gas is 93 octane if you use premium fuel at the pump. If you use C16, that's 116 octane racing fuel. Octane on the E85 is 105 as an average. On E85, it's like an average octane ratio is 105. Okay, so if you compare that to pump fuel, that's 93 for your premium pump gas. That's around $3 to $3.20 a gallon, depending upon where you're getting it right now as of this video. The E85 is a little cheaper, right? And you're getting a lot better octane, right? So you're comparing, 93 octane to 105 octane, and you're paying around the same price or a little less price. So on the octane, E85 is tremendous. Plus, right, which we'll get onto later on, E85 is actually more detonation resistant, and you can tune much more aggressively than that 105 octane leads you to believe. Okay, so as a tuner, right, I can lean on a car a lot harder with E85 than I could with fuel that's rated at 105 octane, and we'll get into those reasons as we move through the video. Okay, but suffice to say, the basic octane rating is 105, so that's an advantage number 2 for E85, is that it has higher octane. Advantage number 3 for E85, okay, is that due to its chemical properties, alcohol is acting as a chemical intercooler. The reason why alcohol acts as a chemical intercooler within your combustion chamber is because the latent heat of vaporization is much higher on alcohol than it is on gasoline. So what that means is it takes a lot more BTUs of energy to vaporize alcohol from its liquid form into a vapor form. So that means that when the alcohol turns into a vapor in the combustion chamber, it's absorbing a lot more heat out of the combustion chamber. So basically what it's doing is cooling everything down in your combustion chamber significantly as compared to gasoline. So basically, on your turbocharged or supercharged car application, what's happening is after you heat your turbocharger, your supercharger is heating up that air, and you're getting the hot air that's going through your intercooler that's being cooled down. Then, when you're using alcohol in your cylinder, it's cooling down the charge. It's cooling the charge down because as it turns from that liquid state that's being injected into the cylinder and it vaporizes, it's significantly lowering the temperature that's existing in the cylinder. What that does is it makes the air molecules more dense that are inside your combustion chamber more dense, meaning you can run more fuel. Okay, that's benefit number one. So you can actually run more fuel because you have a more dense air charge. And number two is cooling. When you're using alcohol, everything is being cooled down significantly, okay? So that cooling process of the alcohol allows the tuner to lean on the tune, right? Lean on the tune, more timing, right? A little leaner, make everything more powerful. Whereas with gasoline, we're running the same setup with gasoline, right? We have to run a little less boost, we have to run a little less timing, and we have to run a little richer, right? More fuel, richer tune, less power, right? In order to cool down with more gasoline, right? To cool things down to avoid detonation, right? So alcohol is giving you advantage. So that's advantage number three, is the chemical intercooling properties of alcohol are very powerful at allowing the tuner to make more power and giving you a safer platform. When you're running alcohol, you're not running on the ragged edge where detonation, you could pick up a bad tank of gas and suddenly you're 1 minute you were having no detonation, now suddenly you're getting detonation because you picked up a bad tank of gas that's slightly sketchy, a little old from this particular gas station, right? With alcohol, it's so powerful at suppressing detonation due to the chemical intercooling effect that your detonation is non-existent, right? So your engine's going to last longer, your rod bearings, everything's taking a lot less abuse, right? So the whole engine's happier on alcohol, okay? Everything's cooler, cleaner, and just happy. So it's a wonderful turbo fuel. So chemical intercooling, reason number three. Let's move on to reason number four. You know, alcohol yields about 30% less energy than gasoline, okay? So if we were running, you know, at the same amount air-fuel ratio of the two fuels, basically if we're running alcohol, we're making 30% less energy, okay? But fortunately for us as tuners that using a turbocharged car, the air-fuel ratio is a lot richer on the E85 car than it is on the gasoline car. As a result, right, that shortfall of 30% on the BTUs, right, which is the BTU is the British thermal unit, right, which means the amount of energy that's being released, right, when the fuel is being burned, okay? So the yield is actually lower on the alcohol, but because we're able to flood the combustion chamber with so much more alcohol than we are on the gasoline, we actually have an advantage in the end. With the alcohol will actually yield you more BTUs because you have more fuel in the combustion chamber. Pump gas has a energy value BTU of approximately 19,000 BTUs per pound, approximately. Okay, those are approximate values. It depends, you know, exact formulation of how the pump gas is made. E85 is approximately 14,000 BTUs per pound, okay? So significantly less, right? But on a turbocharged car, the average tuner is going to tune the car around 12.5 to 1, depending upon the application. Air-fuel ratio on gasoline, okay, that's the average. Now, on an E85 car, it would be a 7.4 to 1 ratio, okay? So if you're not looking at your air-fuel gauge, right, that's converting it, it's a 7.4 to 1. That's your basic tuner ideal air-fuel ratio for alcohol is 7.4 to 1. So you could see that we're running about 45% more fuel in the combustion chamber with E85 than we are with gasoline. That's a lot more fuel, okay? So even although we have a disadvantage, right, where the alcohol yields 30% less energy, we're running about 40 to 45% more alcohol in the combustion chamber. So due to the fact that alcohol is run at a much richer storage ratio than gasoline, even although it's 30% less energy yielding than gasoline, your net yield at the tires is going to be about 5 to 7% more just from running ethanol. And that's the reason why ethanol is a great fuel. More power, 5 to 7% at the tire from running E. Let's move on to the final reason why ethanol is a tremendous fuel to use in your car, and that's for two reasons. One is for renewable energy purposes to help the environment, and two is for emissions. Okay, so one, if you want to help out the environment and help out our planet, ethanol is generally derived from plant-based products that are fermented and produced into ethanol. Okay, generally by local producers right here in the United States. So it's something that's made in the United States and it's supporting farmers here in the United States, and it's renewable, meaning, you know, the sun, the rain, that's what's, you know, what's the formation of the ethanol, right? The ethanol is a tremendous fuel, a lot of advantages, really, really good fuel, good for the environment, and it's good also for you, right, when you're driving your car, because the fumes are less toxic for you when you're breathing them in. Okay, so, you know, gasoline, especially racing fuel like the C16, you know, and the VP import, has a lot of really harmful toxic chemicals. If you get it on your skin, that stuff that's getting in there is cancer causing, right? And you're breathing in lead, right? That causes brain damage, long-term brain damage. That's probably why I'm kind of like the way I am. Some people call me Crazy Al, right? Probably from breathing in too much race gas on the dyno. So E85, right, is not toxic. It's not poisonous to your body, right, like race fuel is, right? So that's something to really think about, right? Your health. So E85 is a tremendous health advantage. I don't see a lot of tuners and people talking about the health advantage of running E85. It's something to seriously consider. Your health, okay? You only have one body, you know. All those toxic chemicals that people are running those race cars, yeah, it makes you go fast down the track, but you're breathing that stuff in. It's polluting your body. We don't know what the long-term effects are going to be. You know, E85 is a very clean burning fuel. It keeps the top end of your combustion chamber very clean. It keeps your motor clean, and it keeps your body clean. It's good for our environment. It's good for your body. It's just a good fuel. Let's talk about some of the disadvantages of E85. And before I talk about disadvantages of E85, I just want to say that in life it seems that nothing is absolutely perfect, okay? There's always some problem with everything, right? I don't care if it's a camera. I'm recording you with this camera, and it has certain advantages and drawbacks. So same thing with E85. You know, it has a lot of great things going for it, but it has certain things that are disadvantages. So it's important for me to talk to you about the disadvantages of running E85, so you think about it before you decide to run it in your car, okay? So disadvantage number one, which is something you really need to think about before you run E85, is availability, okay? So that's number one, is availability. E85 is not available everywhere, okay? Over here, I'm in Fairfield County, Connecticut. There's only one gas station, only one that has E85, okay? So when I go down there to get my E85, sometimes there's dudes coming there from miles and miles and miles away, sometimes as long as an hour and a half away, to fill up with drums of E85. And you know, it's super inconvenient. If you were going to go on a trip and you're running your car straight E85, it would be a real pain in the ass to manage your trip. You know, with Tesla cars, you know, they have those charging stations. At least they're strategically laid out. They have like a little map in the car that tells you where the next charging station is, right? With E85, it's really very hard to find the next E85 station on your way. So if you're going to take a car that's, you know, powered with E85 on a trip, it's really hard, okay? That dovetails in with disadvantage number two of running E85, right? Which is the fact that you're using 30% more E85 than gasoline as you're driving. So as you're going down the road, you're using up 30% more E85, or in my case, probably a lot more than that, because my car runs like crazy with E85, so I'm always getting on it, you know, boosting it all the time. So I'm literally getting like 5 miles to the gallon or 4 miles to the gallon when I'm running my car. So all right, so if I cruise it real easy and just cruise down the road, maybe I can get 12 or 13 miles to the gallon, you know. But still, you know, I'm only getting maybe 150 miles maximum, best case scenario, before I need to fill up. Compared to gasoline, I can go twice, or, you know, a lot further distance with gasoline, and you get gasoline at any gas station. So that's one problem, right? Now, there is a way around that, right? Some cars, right? Not Porsche Turbo, right? Porsche Turbo 997 is not available in the ECU at this point, but some cars like Subarus, GMs, right? They have flex fuel capability in the ECU, and you can put a special sensor from GM that measures the alcohol content and then your tuner can set up the ECU so that the tune will constantly adjust for the ratio of alcohol to gasoline. So if you happen to hit an E85 gas station, you pump up with E85, then you're driving, all of a sudden you can't find E85, you run pump gas, no problem, you put pump gas in, the tune's going to adjust. That works, okay? So if you're running flex fuel, you know, it's not so much of a problem, right? But keep in mind that flex fuel capability is going to cost you more money, A, for extra sensors, and B, for extra tuning, because your tuner basically has to make two different maps to tune the car. He's got to make a pump gas map and an E85 map, right? And then do some testing in between to make sure he's running right. So that's going to cost more money to set it up. So at the end of the day, it is more of an investment, okay? So let's talk about the next disadvantage for E85. The next disadvantage is on a lot of cars, right? You need to invest in additional fuel system capacity because you do need a significantly larger flow of fuel, okay? The reason why you need a larger flow of fuel is because, number one, you need to burn 30% more ethanol than gasoline because you don't, as we've discussed, it's 30% less energy than gasoline, okay? So that's just on a normally aspirated car, just cruising down the road, you're running 30% more ethanol than gasoline. Secondly, so when you start boosting that car, you're making more power than you are with your gasoline. So now you're actually going to need a lot more fuel, right? Because you're going to run a lot more boosts, right? And a lot more fuel than you originally needed with the gasoline car because you're making a lot more power and a lot richer air-fuel ratio. And one thing to consider with the rising rate fuel pressure regulator is you're starting off with a base fuel pressure of approximately 43 psi. That's your base fuel pressure, okay? Now if you add, let's say hypothetically, you know, 30 pounds of boost on top of that, okay? That's a lot of fuel pressure, okay? So whatever that psi is, that's your line pressure. Your fuel pump needs to keep up with that now, okay? So you're up at 73 psi, okay, if you're running 30 pounds of boost with E85, let's say, okay? So that's going to require a huge fuel pump with a big capacity. So you're going to need multiple fuel pumps, right? You're going to need like a double or a triple fuel pump, depending if you're a 4 or 6 cylinder. Big fuel pump, right? And big injectors, right? And by the way, I'll just put a shout out here in the middle of my video to a very favored Dyno Flash friend, you know, ID Injectors, right? T1 Racing Developments made the ID Injectors, right? I've been using them ever since they first came out with them. They've been making them better and better and better. I run those in my Porsche Turbo, the ID 1300s. That baby, that Porsche Turbo, you know, idles like a stock car, idles like a kitten. You know, the latency on those injectors when the on time is so small, it controls the spray pattern and the disbursement of the fuel so precisely, you know, even better than a stock injector. It's ridiculous, and it has a huge capacity, so it's just an ideal injector for using alcohol, and they're very alcohol compatible. So, you know, don't scrimp on injectors. Like a lot of people will try to sell you a ghetto injector and say this injector will work with E85. Just get the ID injectors because the injectors are so important. They come balanced as a set. You know, you're going to spend more money, but do it right, do it once, and do it right. Now, if you're running a Porsche Turbo, if you're a Porsche guy on a 997, all you need to run E85, if you're running a stock motor, because the stock rods are only going to take you up to about 775 horsepower on the stock rods to the wheels. That's it. That's all you can make safely. So if you're you know, a stock engine guy, the stock fuel system can make that. All you need to do is add the injectors, and your fuel system will keep up with that. Unless you're building the motor and putting rods in, you don't need a built fuel system. But on a lot of other cars, if you're going to run E85, one of the disadvantages is now you're talking fuel pumps, right? Lines, injectors, right? All this stuff adds cost, right? So if you're going to set up E85, you know, if you want to run E85, it's a great fuel, okay? It's a tremendous fuel. I've given you all the advantages. One of the disadvantages is, depending upon your application, you're going to be getting into problems setting it up with costs up front, right? With fuel pumps, fuel lines, fuel rails, fuel injectors. Beefy fuel system is what's needed to run E85. So you're going to have a massive fuel system to be able to run the E85 to make that power. So after comparing, all the advantages, right, and the disadvantages of E85, right, my takeaway is that E85 is a very economical, wildlife friendly, and extremely powerful fuel for turbocharged cars. That does have a few minor disadvantages that to consider. It's not ideal, but generally speaking, it is the best fuel ever created. Back in the day when I started back in 2001 with turbocharged cars. There were no E85 gas stations, so E85 was just impossible, right? The only way we could get was either denatured alcohol or methanol or ethanol, in bulk form. There was no E85 at the pump, so it wasn't even an option, right? This was just in its infancy, right? So as time has progressed over the last couple of decades, there have been more and more progression of E85 all the time. So hopefully, as time goes on, E85 is going to be more and more readily available at the pump. In conclusion, this video has been basically a summary of all the benefits and disadvantages of using E85 in your turbocharged car. Haven't really touched too much on specific applications. Kind of an expert on Evo and Subaru and some of the other turbocharged import applications. I don't know so much about domestic turbocharged applications, but look, I don't care what kind of application you have, wherever you are in the world. If you have a question about your platform, specific question about E85, post a comment down below, right? I'll research and give you my best estimate of what, any guidance I can help you out with. Go ahead, post out a question. I'll give you any answer I can. Also, another thing I just wanted to mention, if you're in the tri-state New York area, if you'd like to play dyno or no dyno, maybe do some tuning with your car, right? I'm no longer professionally tuning. I don't do it for money. I just do it for fun sometimes. So if you want to play dyno or no dyno, or you want to get on dyno flash videos with your car, post a comment. More than interested in talking to anybody. Let's connect, and we'll see you on dyno flash videos, okay? Have a great day, and thanks for watching.